Hello and welcome to episode 60 of the True to Life podcast. This is part 3 with Anirudh Murugesan, and I'm so excited because when we first recorded, he's been on episode 4 and episode 13. I remember when we first recorded after a great day at the San Jose Gurdwara, and we recorded that day. And in the episode, I remember mentioning, not a co-host, but someone that was going to be a frequent guest to the show. And there's been a long gap between episode or his part 2 and part 3, so it's finally coming to fruition. And he'll be back on here more, and I'm excited because we could have been zooming this whole time. Is what I've been thinking about. But Ani, you're back. I mean, how have you been? You just graduated. Yeah, where are things at for you right now?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me back. I'll take the blame for the long gap in between episodes there. I think, we kind of just both got busy with our separate things and we kept in touch, but never really pushed the envelope in terms of
Hmm.
trying to get an episode 3 out. So thank you for reaching back out. And, now, as you mentioned, I've graduated, moving back to the Bay Area. Definitely looking forward to more of these episodes. And I'll call it now, episode 4 will be in person.
Yep.
Maybe we'll do like a little mukbang style, get us some food, and we'll do the podcast with, over
Dude,
over a
let's set
lunch
it
or a
up.
dinner.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll make that happen. So yeah, dude, excited to be back. As I said, you've been doing a lot of great stuff, so excited to hear about all that, and then excited to share about some of the stuff I've been doing.
Hmm.
And our conversations always end up getting philosophical in nature, very future centric in nature. So
Hmm.
I'm excited to see where this goes today.
Absolutely. I think the first thing in terms of taking this as a reflection point, what do you think is one thing you've learned about yourself over this past year?
Good question. So remind me, timeline wise, was episode 13, was that
I believe it was,
2023
yeah, and it was at your place.
at my
I
place in
I came
Davis?
over to your place and we hung out. It's a great spot, and yeah, we recorded on your couch there in Davis.
Yeah. And we had some friends come over after, didn't we? And we
Yes.
played a little pong. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so I want to say that was the end of my sophomore year.
Hmm.
So we're looking at over 2 years ago now. So if we extrapolate that question to kind of what I've learned about myself over the past 2 years, um, I think bottom line, a lot of it has stayed the same in terms of
Hmm.
like back then, I think I told you I was learning that if I had an idea and I tapped into the right people that I had around me and tapped into my own, drive and determination to make something happen, I could make it happen.
Mm.
Um, and over the course of the past 2 years, that story has kind of repeated itself a couple times with different things that I've been passionate about. Um, but I think one thing that I've learned pretty acutely over the past year, and even more so in the past couple months, um, is not letting that get to my head.
Mm.
I think I fell in love with the numbers and the impact and like, you know, tying my identity to starting all these things and seeing them grow to the point where I kind of lost myself a little bit,
Mm.
separate from all the things that I was doing. So the past couple months have been good practice in still caring very deeply for the things that I'd started and the things that I was doing, but also taking a step back and, looking at my relationships differently, untying them from the things that I was doing and maybe taking more time for myself and recognizing that it is productive to set aside time for myself and do things that I'm passionate about, things that I like that may not necessarily contribute to a career, a club, or an initiative. So I think it's a good reflection point to have going into my career, just because work is going to take up a lot of my time here in a couple months, but um, it's nice to know that it's still okay to prioritize those relationships and prioritize those passions while still giving 110% in what I'm going to be doing for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Mm. Ani, as you're speaking, there's so many different angles that I want to take us here, but I'm going to slow down and get us one at a time. So first thing that hit my ear is that stepping into a career. So that's going to be a pretty big step, and something that, you know, as over the last 3 or 4 years that you've been in college, you've been working on a lot of things, whether it be they're working on the AI student collective, amazing. Your work with the nonprofit to now like all those skills that you've been learning. Now you're getting ready to apply those to your career as you build that out. So first question, what is on the horizon career wise?
Yeah. As of right now, I'll be sounds like an NBA like announcement of where I'm going, which is
I
not
love it.
true. I've known this for like 2 years. I'll be heading back to Visa
Okay.
to join their associate product manager program. For reference, I interned there for 2 summers.
I
So,
remember you mentioning that.
yeah, I think actually the last time we spoke was maybe right before my first
You
internship
were
with
getting ready
Visa.
to go for the
I was
first
getting
time.
ready
Yeah.
for my first internship. Yeah. So that summer in 2023, I interned as a project manager intern, which is very different from product, and we can kind of get into that later on. So did that for a summer, really loved the people that I was surrounded by, and learned a lot more about how the payment industry works. Um, and then came back the following summer and returned to my role as a project manager intern. But over the course of that year, I kind of learned that, product is kind of where I wanted to be to start my career because I wanted something that was a little more uh, customer facing, allowed me to have some more scope over what was being built instead of just the timeline and the schedule. And so I kind of networked my way into working for two teams at the same time. One was that same project management team. The other one was a customer facing product team.
Hmm.
And on that team, learned a ton more about what product looks like in the enterprise space. I'm going to throw out some lingo, but like Visa operates in a B2B or business to business setting. So
Familiar.
all of my past product experience had been in B2C settings. So it was good to learn about like kind of what that looked like at scale.
So just for
But it
the
was
listeners, B2C would be like business to a consumer direct, as
correct,
opposed to business
correct,
to business.
exactly. And the best example of that is like, and this isn't the most accurate or comprehensive example, but just because it's near me, like Apple, generally speaking, is a B2C company
Yep.
just because the iPhone is sold directly to consumers. They also
AirPods
have
too. Yeah, all that.
exactly. They also have like UV angles, but like just for the sake of the iPhone, that's a B2C example. And then B2B, like Salesforce is a great example, right? Like for those of you that don't know, Salesforce's main product is a CRM system. In plain words, basically it helps companies track who they're selling to and how those deals are working. So they're selling that software to other businesses that
To use
sell
and implement. Yeah.
exactly. So back to this past summer, I was working for two teams at the same time. So I was looking at 60 to 80 hours a week. But I really enjoyed that grind, really enjoyed being at the company and indulging in the culture and meeting so many different people. And it gave me confidence in the decision to come back full time as a product manager. So I'll be starting in a couple months at the end of August. So excited to see where that journey takes me, and excited to also kind of build on two summers of experience at the company already.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, even just a year ago, if you were to throw those words at me, I wouldn't have been able to, I wouldn't have even understood them. But now, I mean, on my side, I've started in-home tutoring coaching business here in Marin. I'm also working on this calming music for dog startup with the person that I'm living with, Robert. And this lingo gets thrown around a lot, even like, yeah, customer relationship management, CRM. Like, I wouldn't have known this stuff even like a year ago, and I'm learning it, hands on, not from
Yeah,
like a bigger company necessarily, but from just myself working with a current CEO and then myself learning with like my feet on the ground. And it's been very, very eye opening to be able to learn these things while also in school getting a business
yeah,
degree. I feel like I've learned more through the practice and through the work, starting my own business than I have so far with the business degree, if that makes sense. But
most
it's still
definitely.
it's still good to have the piece of paper behind it once I graduate. That's exciting. Like you're speaking like the language that I'm looking to push into. I mean that's awesome. What is the
Yeah.
so with Visa, is it how does it work? Is there a contract? Is it hours? Like where are you locked in for a year, 2 years? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so the rotational program, and this is not just visa, this is for product management especially. A lot of the bigger companies out there have these rotational programs for new grads.
Mm-hmm.
And how they work is essentially you rotate through X number of teams over generally a 2 year time frame. So at Visa, you do four rotations. So you rotate through four different teams over 2 years, meaning that you have 6 months with each team. Um, And the rationale behind it is that when you're early in your career, like, I'm 22 years old, you may not want to commit immediately to a product line or a product family that you don't know too much about. So you're getting a taste of different product families within the company.
Hmm.
But, you know, tangential to that, like product management and you said you work on a couple startups, like building anything is an iterative process. It's the life cycle, right? So if you're only spending 6 months on one team, you may only get experience with one part of the life cycle.
Hmm.
Whereas if you rotate through different teams, you may see different stages of that life cycle over your 2 year span, and that may kind of tell you which part of the life cycle you want to build a career in. For example, like because a lot of my most cherished experiences over the past couple of years have been in not just building stuff, but like scaling organizations and
Yeah,
scaling ideas. I have a feeling that I may really enjoy the go-to-market side of building a product.
I think you would too.
So yeah, right. So that kind of feeds into growth roles to product marketing roles, things like that. But the rotational program allows me to not only see that arm of the life cycle, but also other stages as I rotate through the program. So I'm fortunate and very grateful that Visa has it, and I'm excited to be there in just a couple months, and we'll see what happens.
Well, we're gonna be along for it when it does happen. I'm excited.
Most
So
definitely.
one thing that is interesting is since the AI boom has occurred, that's something that you had in my ear like 2 years ago, like working with the student collective at Davis, and to see how much things have grown and how much more quote unquote mainstream artificial intelligence has become with the use of like ChatGPT on the phone, Gemini, and all the searches. Like it's becoming more and more integrated in life. Even on the iPhone now, there's some AI features now with Apple Intelligence. Like we're seeing it become more and more mainstream to where, whoa, it's becoming more and more integrated. Do you have like a AI update for us, like if you will?
Yeah. It's funny. I rewatched or I kind of skimmed through our last two podcasts just in because of how excited I was for this one. Um, and we barely touched on AI Student Collective, Humans for AI, my work and kind of
Barely,
that field. Um, and I think it's a sign of the times, right? Like our first podcast was February of
dude.
2023, and
Absolutely.
that was maybe 2 months. I think ChatGPT or like OpenAI made that available to the public in November, I want to say, of
Hmm.
2022. So that was maybe 3 months, 2 or 3 months after that had just been pushed out to the market. And obviously in the past 2 years, it changed the world, right? So
Yeah.
um, I'll give a brief synopsis of like where I've operated in the past 2 years in this very complicated, saturated domain, and then I'll provide some insight into kind of what I think the future holds. Um, I like am in no way or in no means like an AI systems expert. Like as opposed to becoming very ingrained in technology and building AI products, I instead was more passionate about and continue to be passionate about how AI is going to impact people's careers.
Hmm.
And so one thing I did was found the AI Student Collective, which is, I'll give you the spiel now, a national network of student organizations that strive to create a future of AI literacy for students of all backgrounds. Um, that's very jargon heavy. What that means in plain words is I founded an organization at Davis that gives students the opportunity to engage in AI projects, workshops, network with industry leaders in AI, work with high school students and teach them concepts, basically just a whole litany of industry related projects and
Did you
skill set
connect
development
across
things.
schools too with other UC
Yeah,
schools?
yeah. So I then expanded this to six other schools across the country.
Mm.
Some of them have really scaled themselves up. So for example, the University of Washington is running really strong right now. Um, I have a branch at UC Riverside that's awesome. And then we also have UC San Diego, like, it's had its ups and downs, but they're on the up again. UT Dallas was strong at one point and is currently going through like an admin change. And yeah, I have a couple other schools that have started branches and have operated at some level of success. But at Davis specifically, like in the 2 years since I founded the organization, we scaled to impacting over 3,500 students through our project cycles and events. Um, and I think it was like 750 plus students had their first ever AI project with us and put that on the resume and learn about how to effectively communicate that in interviews. So if you kind of get the theme here, it's not necessarily like me building AI products and selling them to the world.
Mhm.
It's more so empowering others to further their careers with an understanding of how AI can impact said career. So that's kind of my work on the AI Student Collective side. On the Humans for AI side, I've served as Chief Strategy Officer for the past couple of years. Humans for AI is a global nonprofit that strives to democratize artificial intelligence. Um, what we actually do is connect students with industry and provide them with an opportunity to take the skills that they learn through things like the AI Student Collective and actually apply it in real world scenarios. On top of that, we work with those industry leaders um, to, one, get them talent in the door, like the students, but then two, also identify where they can implement AI to accelerate their business use cases. So I recently was in Texas a couple months ago, working with a big manufacturing leader, and we were on the boots on the ground in a manufacturing plant, understanding how we could implement AI systems to kind of accelerate some of their business processes, but then also connect them with some students that were looking for internships that could bring that expertise to what they were doing.
Mhm.
So, long story short, I very much so operated in like the ecosystem space, um, and very people oriented, but I've also recognized that one of my shortcomings is on actually building and understanding the
Mhm.
systems like at a deep level. So that's a journey that I've embarked over the past couple weeks, month or so, and I'm in the process of building myself up on that side as well.
Mhm. So, taking everything that you have just said, I would say that the probably the biggest concern that most people listening, and maybe even myself too, is like the job loss component and AI taking a lot of jobs. Because like if Amazon only needs to hire this many workers now, they're letting the rest go. And same with all these other big companies. Like there's no reason to keep workers if they don't need it because the efficiency. I mean, it's just the reality of the situation, but also like student athletes now, like that's predominantly like the listening base here still is like people that are in middle school, high school, stepping into college right now. Like, how should they be navigating this world, and what should they expect? I mean, most people are that's like a chat GBT degree to some extent. Like I'm looking around at my peers, and it's like it's the reality of the situation. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll answer them kind of separately. The first
Mm-hmm.
question, to answer the first question, I think the answer lies in the story that I just said, right? So it is true, and it has been true with every technological evolution that certain jobs are going to be obsolete, right? Like if you go back to, um, I mean, I could be getting this wrong historically, but like the Industrial Revolution, right? Like, and the invention of like assembly lines,
Yeah.
yeah, like it is true. You are taking away jobs from like people that sit on those assembly lines, right? Um, but you create so many other jobs downstream in the ecosystem. So if you go back to the Humans for AI example I was just talking about in Texas, we went to the manufacturing plant, identified some pain points that they had in some of their business processes, and then created essentially two internship roles for students that had those skill set. And so this ties back to why I'm so passionate about the people side, the ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
side of this of these spaces, and not just AI, but the Student Athlete Community Foundation is also an ecosystem thing. We'll get there later, but if you focus on empowering the people with the skill sets they need, they will be able to fill those jobs, right? The new jobs that are created. So that's why I've been so passionate about building the AI Student Collective and Humans for AI over the past couple of years. To answer your second question about student athletes, and so just to clarify, you're looking like how they should be
Yeah, I
leveraging the
mean, as they're
technology?
stepping in, like either stepping into high school or stepping into college, like they have these resources at their disposal. But at the same time, it's like naturally, like you can think about when we were that age, like if there's a shortcut, easy way to do it, like most of the time people are taking that. And
Yeah,
I worry that that's at the detriment of like their education, like because
for sure.
if they're not highly motivated, like myself or yourself, like and they're not applying themselves to those other areas, they are going to get lost in the wind. And from what it sounds like with what you're saying is they need to apply themselves and, you know, grab those opportunities because there will be new jobs created, but they need to be put in a position to actually grab those new job openings. And if they're just sitting around in the wind and, they've submitted all these ChatGPT papers and then they graduate, they look to the left, look to the right, and the world now is so optimized that the job market is just not what it used to be or what they were expecting. I guess like my question is, what is your advice with our ever changing landscape? How do we continue to adapt? What is this advice to those student athletes for like how to adapt to this new environment?
Yeah. So again, I'll answer this in two parts. The first part, I'll kind of tackle how student athletes can use it for their own journey, and then
Mm-hmm.
two, I'll talk about future-proofing their development. So to answer the first part of the question, if I or even yourself had access to, like, let's just use ChatGPT as the example
Baseline. Yeah.
for the model, right? Um, if I had access to that resource when I was going through the recruiting process, I would have been able to research schools way easier
100%.
than I would have been able, than I did when I was going through the recruiting process. I would have been able to draft emails that weren't so verbose. Like I look back at some of the emails I wrote to coaching staffs. Dude, I wrote like 5 paragraph essays to some of
Dude,
those
I
schools.
I went way over the top on some of mine too. I even made like a custom one pager with like all
Yeah,
my stats and like little key highlights and things. Yeah, I
yeah.
100%.
And it's like, I mean, if you have the means to pay for something
NCSA or
like
whatever it is.
NCSA or whatever it was, like, yeah, they'll help you with it. But like I wasn't doing that. I didn't have resources. I had people that were helping me,
Mm-hmm.
um, that were playing in college at that point. But no, I would use it to research schools that, you know, for me the big thing was like I wanted to play at a school that had a very specific major. And so what I would do is I would go through each school and go through their directory and look through
Yeah.
all the professors and the classes they taught. And presumably these models have been trained on information that is publicly available on the internet. And so if I were to pull up chat right now and be like, hey, does Occidental have a cognitive science program? They'd probably say yes. Does Occidental have a computer science program? Probably say yes.
Boom, draft me
Um,
an email to send to their coach, and you have
there you
it
go.
ready to
And then
go.
you can throw in your resume, your LinkedIn link, or paste in all, no, sorry, not your LinkedIn link, but you can paste in all the content from your LinkedIn and be like, hey, this is more about me. Here are my stats. This is what Occidental's program is doing. This is the major that I want to apply for. Draft me an email that I can send to Coach Newhall, who was the coach when I was getting recruited there. Um, and it would be a little easier. I am wary of putting this out on the internet because I do believe in like the human connection of like actually writing an email that's from here. I think it's the reason I got responses from some coaches. But if you're looking to just do some outreach and get a feel for like how your numbers stack up against what these schools are looking for, like it's very helpful to proofread an email, like rewrite an email, for example, and kind of just do research on schools. Does that answer the first part of your question?
I think in terms of how student athletes can use it to help in their recruiting journey and getting to college or getting to the next level, I would say
Yeah.
now like the second part is like more how do they apply it to like real life and
Yeah,
building a career.
100%. So, I mean, we all know the ball's going to stop bouncing. Um,
Dude, it's happening, bro. I'm done after this
exactly.
year. And like, I'd
Yeah.
borderline be happy if it was done this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's stopped bouncing for me a little earlier than it
Hmm.
did for you, right? So, I've been through that transition. It's an identity shift, but it's also like a massive opportunity to repurpose your time.
Hmm.
And I like to believe that I repurpose my time fairly well with the
I would
things that I
agree.
was able to do. And this goes right to answering the question, right? Like I when the ball stopped bouncing for me, like I made a commitment to myself that I was going to repurpose all that time into career related things, right? And or not career related things, just things I was passionate about. So that's where all
Self
the nonprofit,
improvement too. I mean,
right?
just working on.
Exactly. That's where the nonprofit stuff came from. That's where these different organizations, the internships, that's where all that all came from. But on top of that, like when I looked around, I saw other people that also made the transition from not playing to, you know, career related or like self-improvement or
Hmm.
whatever. The ones that were most successful, like infinitely more successful than me, were the people that were already somewhat preparing for it while they were playing, right? Like I had friends that had very successful high school careers at very like competitive high schools that spent time building employable skills, or maybe did an internship during the summer, like wake up, work out early, did an internship during the
Mm.
day, open gym at night, lift at night, whatever it was. I wasn't doing any of that because I just didn't know. I didn't know any better. Like I was just playing basketball 24/7. Um, if I had known, I feel like I would have been able to balance that because I knew that the ball was going to either stop bouncing at the end of high school or at the end of college. Um, and if you're in that position, like one, be real with yourself, have those conversations with the people around you that you trust, and then two, like start chunking some time into planning for what your next steps might be, right? Like this doesn't apply to just basketball or just being a student athlete. It's with anything you do. Like you've been doing it constantly for the past couple of years, right? Like when I
Mhm.
last talked to you, you were all in on playing at Dominican after the
Yeah.
whole the Holy
The
Names
whole
thing,
shift.
the whole shift from Holy Names, and now like you're active on LinkedIn. You got um the is it Kaizen?
Guys than you. Yeah.
The Kaizen stuff. You got this new startup you were talking about with your housemate. Still doing PGC. I just saw your PGC post yesterday.
Yeah.
I
I just
love
finished up
that.
this summer. I just got my 3 weeks just wrapped up too.
Right. So you got all that going for you, and like the two pillars of what you're doing right now are A, you're passionate about all these things. Like you're not just doing them just to do them, which I love. And then the second pillar is that in some way, shape, or form, it's preparing you for your life after basketball. Right. So that message to student athletes, and you're the perfect example.
I'm trying
Like,
to walk it. And
yeah,
that's the whole point of this podcast has been like for student athletes that are out there or even just people. And I think that's as I can start to evolve. And that's why I think it's so great to have. That's why when we spoke on that car ride, I was like, this is someone that gave up their sport earlier than they maybe wanted to, but found it, and then they knew that they needed to pursue other things at that same level of like veracity and vigor, like still go all in on their life still. Like if it wasn't going to be basketball, it was going to be ABCD other ideas. And I think that really stood out to me 2 3 years ago, and it was. And now I felt a little bit like, dang, he has all this extra time. I'm still putting this time in the gym, but I've been, as much as I possibly can, still trying to explore those avenues. Yanni, you know what's crazy? We're still in the quote unquote part one segment of this pod. I haven't even got us to part two, part three, or part four. Just for the for framing. Like that's how bad we've been needing this catch up. But
yeah.
before we swing into part two, because we're gonna get kicked from Zoom here pretty soon, I want to talk about constants.
Okay.
And for you, some of the constants that you've had have been the anchors that you've mentioned thus far. Like you've had your nonprofit, you had your work with Amazon, which I mean that we could talk about. It's a whole podcast there, whole podcast on the uh all the other things. But how can you speak to the importance of having some of those anchors in your life? Because I found that to be game changing for me. Is having stuff like PGC has been an anchor for me. Now starting this business has been an anchor for me. This podcast has been an anchor for me. So I want you to maybe speak to how those constants have played a role in your journey.
Yeah. This is an amazing question, very timely. So I'll answer this question from the lens of like when I was a student
Mm-hmm.
to then the past couple months. So when I was a student, one thing to know about me is like I'm a very avid calendar user. Like I'm a
Yeah.
massive Google Calendar guy, became a Notion calendar guy because I was able to integrate all my accounts.
Yeah.
Um, and I was notorious like among my friend groups for having like the most cooked calendar of all time. Like it was just thing after thing after thing,
Mm-hmm.
meeting after meeting, class after class, whatever, 5 days a week, completely blocked off from like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. That was every day. Um, and it used to be a point of pride, and then I realized like, wait, why am I taking pride in this? This is kind of stupid. Like I have no time for myself.
Yeah.
Um, but the one thing I really appreciated about all those weeks is that I would have 1 or 2 hour blocks throughout the week that were constant. So, for example, during my time at Davis, I was part of a startup slash product development organization called AggieWorks. where we build products for students at UC Davis. And for every quarter that I was a part of AggieWorks, Tuesday nights, 7 to 9 p.m., like that was a constant.
Mm-hmm.
That was a time block for me to go talk to my team about building the product we were building. For the first year, it was a club search platform called Clubly. We scaled that to over 10,000 users. Um, and then I started my own product called Espresso. It was a mentorship coffee chat platform
That's dope.
where underclassmen could book time with upperclassmen and alumni mentors. And I just loved having a 2 hour block to just do one singular thing that I was
Mm.
passionate about. Um, and I found that time continually throughout those very busy weeks. Whether it was like I'd have a friend that I'd set up a weekly, chat with. And over the course of my college career, it was a couple of different friends, and we'd always have like a weekly 30-minute time slot to go on a walk together.
Mm.
And we'd talk about, scaling organizations, or we talk about career stuff, or just catch up on social life, or whatever it was. So that having that anchor, I think, is like really important from a time perspective because you have time in your day to focus on one singular thing, but you can also plan around that time for those extraneous tasks you have to complete. But that answer, I think, is very surface level. If you look a little deeper, I think people and like having specific people as the constants in your life are more important. For me, that's always been my family. Like,
Anchor.
yeah, my mom, like I go to my mom about everything, um, career wise or even like stuff I'm dealing with personally. Um, my dad, I just like whenever I'm bored or whenever I have a second, like I just FaceTime him or give him a call, um, just to say what's up. And like that makes my day feel normal. No matter like if I'm traveling, like if I was in Texas or New York or if I'm doing something, like having a conversation with them about something like that keeps me grounded. And I have other friends like that that I grew up with that I call with like on almost a daily basis. And that constant like kind of keeps me going. Now, the reason this question is so timely, and I want to answer it before we get kicked off Zoom because I know we'll probably hop on another one here. Um, I actually graduated early, so I graduated in March,
Mm-hmm.
but I still lived in Davis technically until my graduation ceremony last
Yeah.
week in June. And when you're in college, normally the biggest constant in your week is your class schedule, right? And so what I was really curious to see was, what would my life look like without the constant of class, of having lectures and discussion sections? And it was actually like kind of weird at first. Like I would wake up in the morning and I wouldn't have a set time that I had to be on campus for something.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have like a million meetings here and there, but I could kind of take them from wherever, or I could work on something from wherever. And this is kind of where I shifted my perspective on constants from like calendar-based things to people-based things, right?
Mm.
Like what ended up being for me was like I learned that I love to work at coffee shops, no matter how busy they are. So I would just go to like 2 or 3 different coffee shops throughout the day and kind of rotate through and work on different things. But for me, a week didn't feel complete unless I had one of those coffee shop work sessions with a particular friend. And over the course of those 10 weeks, like there were some friends that, I was friends with, but I grew like to become very close friends
Mm-hmm.
with just because we'd always go hang out at a coffee shop together and work on something, or I ended up seeing them for lunch or dinner or whatever it was. So now that I, am in a new setting away from college, away from those people, um, it's been nice to continue those relationships because those people are folks that I hope to continue to be constants in my life, if that makes sense. Like a lot of them were at my grad party on Friday night. I miss seeing you there. But
Wow.
it was nice to kind of celebrate the fact that they had been constants in my life for the past 2 or 3 years, and that I hope that they continue to be so.
Mm. You know what's crazy? You mentioned multiple things there that I connect and resonate with. The first one being like having the anchors being like parents and like making your day feel normal again. Because it can feel so hectic jumping from, I like to view it as like I have 15 tabs up in my head and I'm constantly flipping back and forth to the different tasks. That yeah, like a quick 10-15 minute call as I like take a walk around the block, FaceTime mom, talk to dad, call one of my brothers. Like those are the little things that bring me back to, my reality. Yeah, bring a sense of normalcy. um the second one was the coffee shop one. I've found that to be, even in the last 3 to 6 months, has been something I've implemented too. Like yesterday, I was in Berkeley for like 3 hours at this. I went on my phone. Actually, I went to Gurdwara in the morning, and then
Yeah,
I found a coffee shop in Berkeley, and sat in there for 2 to 3 hours. Got myself a tea, and I just was jamming, locked in. I found that those 2 or 3 hours were so productive. Like it was different than when I'm at my home desk station. And I'm going to send you a fresh link. I'm going to pause right here for a clean transition, and I'll send you as the link. We'll be right back.
perfect.
Boom. Already in, locked and loaded.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I was foolish to think that we could only be held to restrictions of a Zoom meeting. I think we're definitely going to need the part four with the spread of food. We'll just get the mic set up, go for like an hour and a half, and just hash it all out
Yeah,
after this summer. I think that's definitely what we're gonna do. We're already recording, so we're good just to keep things rolling. I I had like two or three more questions, and then I was gonna get us to the rapid fire because I know you're getting to Walnut Creek tonight, and then the much anticipated episode four will happen. So my question is, do you ever miss sports? And how is that athletic mindset like? Is it still applied in your day to day?
yeah, good question. I miss the camaraderie of being an athlete um, at a high level. Like, I'm still one of my best friends. Just wrapped up his playing career down at Chapman, and
He was at the
during
amazing camp I was at, right? Adam, right?
he was yeah Adam yeah.
Yeah.
So I've visited Adam a couple times over the past couple years down at Chapman, and something that always kind of struck me every time I left on my way home was like, wow, like he just got 15, not 15 built-in best friends, but like there was like a subgroup of teammates that like they were like family. And like, shout out to them, like they always welcomed me and made me feel like part of the group anytime I went
Yeah.
out with them. But that's what I miss most about being an athlete is like I had that with my teammates in high school, and you don't really get that anywhere else in the real world. Thankfully, though, um, A, just because I had great teammates in the past, and B, because I'm a very people-oriented person, and so are some of the teammates I had. Like I stayed very close with a lot of those teammates. Some of my like earliest friend groups that I'm still close with today are guys that I played AAU with growing up, or guys that I played middle school or high school basketball with. Like for example, like my grad party is a good example, right? Like I had multiple tables of people that were either middle school basketball teammates, high school basketball teammates, or
That's
AAU
awesome.
teammates. And it was just awesome. It's like guys that like are some of my best friends that my parents know and love. Like they're there. So to answer that part of the question, like I miss the the camaraderie that you have while you're an athlete with your team. But thankfully, like if you're committed to it, you can keep those relationships going for years and years, post playing career. To answer the second question about that athletic mindset, I think it drives the way that I operate on a daily basis, for better and for worse. And I'm kind of working on tackling the worst right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll start with the good. Um, you know, you're always raised to have a chip on your shoulder on the court. You're raised to
Yeah.
identify where your weak points are and work on that. Like for me, my transition from my freshman year to my sophomore year of high school was the JV to varsity transition. And one thing was like I really struggled shooting on like on the move, like whether it was off the dribble or like off coming off a pin down or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent the entire summer working on that with some of the college guys that had come through our program in the past. And that became one of my strengths. That was how I kind of made a living my last 2 years of high school basketball. And it was how I pitched myself to coaching staff. It's like I don't have to be on the ball to score. If I come join your program. I've applied that mindset to what I do today, right? Like I went through the interview process pretty rigorously for uh, a really large company a couple years ago for a product management internship and got through 5 rounds and didn't pass that fifth round. And because of that basketball mindset I had of like kind of finding what my weak points were and working on it, got to work, did a bunch of practice, and was more effective in my visa internship after that downfall, after that failure. Same thing to the AI stuff I talked about earlier, right? I've operated very much so at like the ecosystem space and
Mm-hmm.
empowering others to, you know, supercharge their careers. And in that process, I realized that I was kind of leaving myself behind from a skill set standpoint. And so now I'm working to hopefully make amends for that. Um, but the bad side of this is, and I'm sure you can relate, as an athlete, like you tie your identity to your performance, which isn't the most healthy thing in the world, but it's human nature. Um, and so after my life as a basketball player, I started to tie my identity to things I was doing um, extracurricularly. So the different organizations that I had started, the different initiatives I was doing,
Hmm.
and I took a lot of pride in it, which is good. But I also tied my self-worth and I had this like comparative nature of like how what I was doing in relation to others. Um, and it just wasn't healthy. So I'm working on breaking that habit that I think I developed as a basketball player. But I think the knack of like constantly trying to have a chip on your shoulder and finding places to improve is something that I'll always carry from my life as an athlete.
Hmm. I think what you hit on is so important, and you were correct. I 100% resonate with a couple of things that you mentioned. First one, and in my one of the things that we do at Dominican is they have all the business students in an EWB class. So it's called Exploring the World of Business, and the idea is to promote career readiness while in college. And this is the funny thing: most of the students in EWB in this class that need it the most are the ones that A, don't show up, or B, on their phones, or C, think they don't need it, but in fact, they're the ones that that class is made for. And in that class, I want to say it was sophomore year, maybe junior year, we did SWOT analyses. And
Hmm.
that's something that, and for those that don't know, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, identifying these in a little graphic organizer or chart. And I realized my entire life as a basketball player is constantly analyzing, okay, what are my strengths? What can I do well on the basketball court? What are the weaknesses? Coach is telling me on my opportunities, and I'm constantly analyzing threats to my game, holes, um, threats on the court, whatever it is. We're constantly doing that as athletes. So I do think that that transitions directly into professional and business life. And it's like that constant evaluation and reflection, which it can be unhealthy, but I think in given the right level of focus, I think is super beneficial and is part of the benefit that student athletes have in their transition to life after sports is that ability to be critical of themselves and that self improvement, like growth mindset. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
so I love that first of all. I enjoyed your EWB example, and I'm going to tell you why it resonates with me, and then I'm going to flip this and ask you a question, like a
Love it.
challenge question. So, what you described with the EWB situation is an ecosystem issue, right? Like the students that the class is built for that need it the most, that need that resource, are the ones that aren't leveraging it, whereas the students that are already there trying to develop their careers are the ones that are the most invested.
Yep.
So the reason this is really timely for me is in January, I was taking a look around the UC Davis ecosystem, the student ecosystem, and trying to get a better understanding of how students built their network, right? Like if you had asked, did a random sample of 20 people that knew me at Davis and asked them to name three words that um, they associated with me, I'm sure network would be in the top three because love networking, I love meeting people, I love building relationships. And I was curious as to how students at Davis approached that
Mm-hmm.
aspect of being a college student, how they built their network. And I realized that there wasn't really a way to do so, especially in relation to finding mentorship. And so came up with the idea for Espresso that I mentioned earlier. Um, it's basically a mentorship platform wherein my team and I build a platform, and then curate a cohort of mentors, upperclassmen and alumni, get them on the platform, and then underclassmen or just students in general can book coffee chats with them to ask them questions, to learn about their journeys and see what they can take away. It's not transactional. There's no money involved. You know, the student's not getting a referral from the mentor. They're just there to learn, right? To build
Mm-hmm.
that relationship. And in my head, this was a great idea because like I would have definitely used this if I was an underclassman. I was always looking for ways to meet amazing people and kind of see what they were doing and see what I could learn. Um, and we were pretty successful early on in terms of our launch. We scaled to over 200 users in our first couple of weeks. By the end of the quarter, we had hit over 70 coffee chats. But something that I began to notice as the momentum died down was
Hmm.
the students that were booking these chats were the ones who were already thinking about developing their network, about reaching out to mentors, about learning about different things. The reason I built the platform and the people I was building the platform for as my ICP, ideal customer persona,
Yep.
right? That's a term I'm sure you're familiar with now. Um, were students who didn't already have access to mentorship, but wanted a resource to learn more about how they could optimize their time at Davis, right? So if the student you're building this program for is the one that isn't interested, like how do you shift the ecosystem to do so? So now I'm going to flip this on to you for EWB. Let's say you're an administrator at Dominican. You have this EWB course to get students career ready and business students career ready. Yet you find that students like you are the ones that are the most engaged and, you know, students that need that course to be career ready are not paying attention.
Hmm.
How do you shift the culture to do
You,
so?
you know what, Ani? You know what's funny? In every episode, you always find one to flip the question on me, and I love it. It's been a constant. And I do have an answer for you. And talk about good timing. Talk about good timing. And I'll tell you why. Because this Wednesday, I have a meeting with the chair of the business, the Borowski School of Business program. She just stepped into the role. We're getting a coffee with myself, Robert, housemate, and her, and talking strategy to solve this exact problem. So
Love
I'm
it.
already in the works of it right now, and I have the answer in the back of my head. I think it's having a student, most likely it's going to be myself, helping to lead the charge. If they see a student up there helping to, whether it's a 15-minute at the beginning or the end or something to intertwine like a student talking to them as opposed to just being like professor, 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 maybe that'll stick a little bit better. Um, and just finding any way to make it more interactive in the classroom. And I think if it comes from the right person, if it comes from their peers, I think that could be very impactful. And I found that from a basketball sense, like I'm like coach can be saying something all you want, but when the team starts hitting them from the side, that's where you start seeing a lot of the change. And if it's just from top down, top down, top down, like a hammer, that's not might not be the right approach. It might need to be from the peers and other people that are around them as well. So I
Yeah.
think that might be the solution. We'll see, but yeah, we have this meeting on Wednesday. It's a very well timed question.
Yeah, I love the answer. I think tying it back to basketball is great because player to player accountability,
Hmm.
as you know, like is much more powerful a lot of the times than coach to player accountability, right? Because like that's one of your guys that's telling you that you need to step up. Like you're gonna really push yourself to step up if that's the case. So, it's an interesting problem. I have a team that's I've handed off the product to for next year because obviously I'm graduating, or I have graduated, and so I'm excited to see how they tackle the problem. Um, and I'm interested to see like if it is able to make the impact at the university that I hope it does. Just because like that is a topic I'm so passionate about. Like building your network, I think is the key to unlocking so many
Oh yeah.
opportunities and so much of your own potential. And I hope that students at Davis at least are able to do that in part due to their engagement with Espresso as a product.
Hmm. uh, if only you could express the importance of that because they do at EWB, like they harp on LinkedIn networking, and it kind of starts falling on deaf ears. But if you have me up there with my LinkedIn profile, speaking it all to existence, like, oh, this connection and putting it together for them, I think that could be a lot more impactful. So I'm definitely gonna have a more pronounced role like with the business school for my senior year and really try to leave as much of an impact as I can because once I pivot away from Dominican and start going full bore into whatever it is that I go into next, like it's gonna be in the rear view and I'm gonna be going tunnel vision on whatever the next task ahead is. So I'm really
Yeah,
trying to be very present where I'm at this year. In addition to stepping into leadership, you saw it on LinkedIn too with the PSAC, which is like the Student Athlete Association at Dominican, stepping into the president role there. And the main goal is to connect the the student athlete population at Dominican, because I view it as pretty fragmented right now. A lot of the teams don't really interact with each other. There's missing like a culture between the student athletes, and I feel like if that can start to be worked on and start to foster some more connectedness between those programs, I think not only the school will get better, but I just think everyone's experience is going to get a lot better. And because of that, the networking will blossom and it really will be quite a special place. So there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to picking your brain on in terms of bringing people together. And it sounds like you've been doing that the last 3, 4 years. So I'm looking forward to those future conversations,
Yeah, this is awesome, dude. I'm so excited for you. And if you ever want to do like a workshop together next year for at the business school, like I'm happy to drive up to Dominican.
bro. Like I might need to make that happen.
We can make
Yeah.
that happen. That'd be so sick.
Okay, just for our time's sake here, let's pivot and do a few rapid fire questions and get us rocking and rolling. Uh, what is one song that always gets you hyped?
Gets me hyped. Jeez. Um, Doing This by Luke Combs.
I didn't know you were a country guy.
Huge country guy.
I am too.
Yeah, really.
And I don't share that. And I recently found this is over the last 6 months. That's something that I hate about myself for a really long time. I didn't know why I hate it for myself. No, I like country music. I've been to a Luke Combs concert. I loved it.
Yeah,
It's amazing. Levi
dude.
Stadium.
Was it last May?
Yes, that was
I
the one,
want I was actually visiting Adam in LA or in
dude.
OC, and so I was bummed to miss it. And then I wanted to go to Morgan Wallen this summer, but I'm traveling while he's here, so I can't go.
Dude, his song Afterglow just recently came upon it as of recent.
Uh-huh.
I've been listening to it probably once a day. I'll send it to you and take it off just in
Yeah,
case.
please do. Please do.
Um, oh, dude, that's awesome. What is your favorite AI tool right now? Or what do you use most?
Hmm. I know it's supposed to be rapid. Um, I'll say Notion has Notion AI on their like little interface. So for those of you who don't know, Notion's like a workspace product or productivity product. And the reason I enjoy it is because I use it to take notes during meetings, and then like I can summarize, or basically I can prompt the language model within my Notion document to like summarize the notes that I've written so far, or ask it questions to pull in like external information. For
Mhm.
example, I was in a meeting for the Graduate School of Management where I worked at UC Davis as an intern during the school year, or meeting with like a some investment management firm, and I know next at that point knew next to nothing about the secondaries market. And so during the meeting, I was taking notes and prompting the language model within Notion to give me more information on the secondaries market so I could learn during the meeting. So
Hmm.
I'll roll with that.
That's a great plug too for anyone that is not using that. I'm not. I just wrote it down. I'll definitely be checking that one out.
Yeah.
So you go to coffee shops. What is your go-to coffee beverage, or are you more of a tea guy? What do you usually get at the coffee shop?
Yeah, definitely became a coffee guy during the last couple of years of college. Um, I think my I have very consistent flavors that I enjoy, but my specific go-to drink depends on the shop. So if I'm at Phil's, I'm a mint mojito guy. Love
This
anything
is
mint
great.
flavored. Love anything mint flavored. There's a coffee shop in Davis that does a mint mocha and a mint latte, so
Mm.
I like that because it's light and refreshing. Um, but if I'm just going to like a new place and I want something that's like, standard, gonna get me through the day, um, a nice like iced latte or an iced mocha will do.
Love it. Do you prefer iced or hot?
I'll do both. Depends on the
Both,
day. If it's in the morning, I'll usually do hot.
for
If
sure.
it's during the day, I'll go ice. Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
What was your go-to study snack during the dog days?
Whew, good question. Mm, like little Kirkland trail mix
Mm,
packets. They sell them in like
reliable.
boxes of 30. I just throw one in my backpack and
Dude,
on my way.
I just locked in my first Costco membership two
Yeah,
months ago. I've been loving it. I've been
congrats.
loving it.
I think my dad actually just got back from Costco with a chicken bake for dinner, so I'm excited.
Amazing. Last question before we get out of here. any final piece of advice, any top of mind thoughts that you want to leave with myself and any listener that this may fall upon?
Yeah, this is a high pressure situation because I think the last 2 times we've done this, this question has resulted in an Instagram video. So I need to be introspective real quick and think of something good. Um, oh, you know what?
What's
I
that?
got it. So something that was top of mind today, and okay, this might be a little weird to admit, but I I have myself pinned on iMessages, and it's because I text myself reminders or like links that I find.
That's genius.
Um,
I've never thought
but
of
I
that.
but I also send myself quotes, especially if I'm like in a little bit of a rut, and it's like yesterday was Sunday night. I had like a really fun weekend, but like was not productive at all because I was out and about at grad parties and stuff. I was like, listen, Monday morning I want to be productive. I wanted to send myself a quote and like a little note to myself so that I could wake up Monday morning to a text and use that to drive my day. And so for background, big fan of like Greek Roman philosophers like Stoicism, like Marcus Aurelius, like that. I grew up reading. Actually, my mom has a copy of it somewhere in this room. Temptations by Marcus Aurelius. Um, but there's a quote from Seneca that goes, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." And so the note that I distilled that down into is I am not immortal. I don't get infinite Mondays. This Mondays is one of the few. I'm going to use it to the fullest, right? And so going back to the quote from Seneca, like if there's something that I'm scared to do, whether it's like reach out to a company or start a new project, the way that I push it off is by having that mortal fear that like, oh, I'm not good enough to start this thing that am scared to do. But then for the second part of that quote, he says, "You act like immortals in all that you desire." You know, if I want a great job, if I want to go travel somewhere, if I want to do something great, um, the way I push off daily progress is by saying I have time. But that's not true, right? Like time is limited. Time is, you've heard all the quotes about how time is the greatest resource that we all have access to. Um, and so that quote kind of, I was able to reposition how I wanted to attack this week, especially because I'm traveling for the next couple months or couple weeks after this week. Um, and I think it's something I'm going to keep doing every day. It's like set myself a nice quote, uh, see what I think about it, and go from there.
Three things. One, you've done it again. Two, I'm absolutely stealing the pinning of the at the top for messages, and also utilizing that you can schedule a text to go out 6 a.m. in the morning, 7 a.m. in the morning with your alarm. So you wake up, you get that reminder first thing that's hitting the mind. And third, and it's one that I've been living by. And you just mentioned it about time. Yesterday's dead, tomorrow's not here. All we have is the present. These 24 hours that we have is all that we get. And that mindset, that mantra, it's like every single day we wake up, it's all we got. It's all we got. And fourth thing, last one before we jump is I've just recently got back into reading. Should have been reading this whole time. I was just came up with every excuse in the world, but just finished Atomic Habits by James Clear. Phenomenal book. Highly recommend. I've done some solo pods on it. I'm now currently reading Think and Grow Rich
Hmm.
by Napoleon Hill. And the third one, after I finish Think and Grow Rich, will be this guy. And you just mentioned it.
Hold on.
Meditations.
Meditate. Did
Medit
I say temptations? I meant
No,
meditation.
no, meditations on Mark. Yeah, you just recently brought up, and that's why I went and grabbed the book because this is the third one on the bookshelf after I finished Think and Grow Rich. So the timing couldn't have been better for you to bring that up as
I
well.
love it.
So yeah, it's all aligned. Ani, we will absolutely be touching base again soon. We went longer than expected, but I kind of knew that might happen. It's been a joy connecting with you and being able to just talk. We could be on here for another 3 hours. But yeah, I have a safe travels with the rest of your summer, and I look forward to the next one. And we'll continue to stay in touch.
Thank you. Before you stop recording,
Yeah,
let me say this: that you've shown like personally, professionally in the last 2 years since we last hopped on one of these is incredible. So props to you. You're doing so much amazing stuff. You're inspiring me to keep going. So, this is just the beginning for you, and I'm excited for episode 4.
Hmm. And then I'm going to give my last thing to that last thing. I've always left our conversations feeling uh re-sparked. And my flame has already been going the last month, 2 months, but even some of the nuggets that you've given me about connection and bringing people together, like I am going to be in a position where I need to put those things into practice now. So if anything, it was just this episode, this conversation was lighter fluid to what's already a spark that was lit. So I'm excited, dude. We're gonna continue the conversation. Ani, have a great rest of your summer. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Nanik. Take care.
Yep, we'll be back later. That's a wrap for episode 60. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The number one way to grow a podcast is through sharing it. So please send it to a family, send it to a loved one, send it to a peer that you think this may help. It's the number one way to grow. It is much appreciated. The links for Ani will be available in the episode notes. So tap into his journey on LinkedIn, Instagram, all that good stuff. So, and continue to follow the show. I'm more consistent with my interviews, solo pods, all that. And I look forward to continuing to bring content and being a light in a sometimes dark world. And that's been the goal since day one. So thank you. And we'll be back here next time.